This is a video James Dore put out. Rachel Maddow's nonstop COVID lies. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's some important targets out there in the world. There's some folks out there that are poisoning the world with misinformation, disinformation, evil. They are outright, they're every night they're on TV, they're doing outright hate crimes essentially as their entire show. But enough about Tucker Carlson. And those people exist, and you'll never run dry of reasons to take them to task about stuff. Now, occasionally you got obviously have to be comfortable going after your own side if they sheepdog them back into reality, if that's indeed the case. But don't think for a second that that's what's happening with Jimmy and Rachel Maddow, because Jimmy has always had complete and utter contempt for Rachel. She's a neocon, pro-war something or other, and that she's used by the corporate overlords because she looks like a nerd to feed fascists, blah, blah, blah. That's been the storyline for as long as he's given a shit. Like, the only time he ever started paying attention to her was to shit on her, and that's continually how it works. Now, he could be going after the Tucker Carlsons of the world, but he would be biting the hand that feeds him, because he gets on Tucker's show, not on Rachel's show. And one of the ways you get on Tucker's show is attack Rachel's show. As a strategy, it makes sense financially, and Jimmy is another one of these millionaire Marxists, right? There's no point where he's like living in an apartment and giving away his fortune to the less fortunate while decrying the rich and powerful and blah, blah, blah. And people only, they manipulate the media and they manipulate the viewers for monetary gain. While he does that nonstop, he doesn't actually, like he and Hassan, both millionaire Marxists, I'm not a Marxist, but I play one on TV kind of stuff. But again, going after Rachel guarantees you a spot on Tucker, of course. And we only know if I guess we'll have to see. If Jimmy has dyed his hair again, he's got a date with Tucker. It's the only time. He used to dye his hair regularly, and now he only does it when he's going on Tucker. And we'll see if there's sort of a across the streams kind of moment here, or in the profiler, the chances of him doing both at the same time make a lot of sense. So shit on Rachel, buy some Just for Men, and it's the magic bullet to get on Tucker. Let's see. But this video is called Rachel Maddow's Nonstop COVID Lies. So there is not a single moment she is not lying about COVID. Everything she says about it, based on this premise, is a lie. Has to be. Nonstop. And they are active lies. These aren't time change, situation change, science updated. This is, like Fauci about masks kind of stuff that the right wing goes on all the time. Fauci couldn't stand masks, and now he's like a rabid masker. He wears 5 masks. He's telling you to wear 5, and blah, blah, blah. That stuff where they actually didn't have any science on the ability to stop the virus from getting into your system. Lower dose actually saving some lives. And the study in June saying basically you can not only limit the spread, but you can actually limit the depth of contagion that people would experience when they're wearing masks. But that was a lie. You remember, Fauci was lying about this. It wasn't that there was no science. Now there is science. Now he's following the science from the studies that were actually done. Yeah, you're not allowed to take in new information as a scientist, especially, and speak more directly about that. You have to have been a liar. If you were alive before a polio vaccine, and you say there's a polio vaccine, you're lying. It's medical misinformation, according to Jams. Here we go. So I have not watched this. Let's see. Here we go. This is Rachel Maddow's nonstop lies about COVID.
So now what I've said here is that if you're getting your information.
Yep. He's going to be on Tucker probably in the next couple days. I mean, that's a brand new Auburn. It's a good, it matches the his chair, the shade. It's a good choice. Not too dark. Yeah.
COVID and the vaccines from the establishment news, you're being lied to.
Yes, if you believe what you're hearing about COVID and the vaccines from the establishment media, you are being lied to. These are not people trying to give you their best information. These are not people who are maybe overly cautious in some cases. Maybe these are folks who recognize their own ignorance and defer to scientists who are themselves playing catch up in a worldwide pandemic. It's not that. It's never been that. They are lying to you because Super Jew, Rothschilds, Pentavlet, New World Order.
And you're being lied to at the top of their lungs constantly 24/7.
Okay, lied to at the top of their lungs, nonstop 24/7. So none of them have been right about any of it. When they tell you the amount of cases and deaths, they're lying to you. If they tell you that booster shots help, they're lying to you. If they tell you the vaccines work, if they tell you that most of the cases that are happening right now, for example, are Omicron, and that most of the hospitalizations are actually coming from the Delta strain or people with high comorbidities in Omicron, they're lying to you. They're not just following the information they're getting from the best sources they can find worldwide. They're not having people on the staff read the papers out of South Africa that actually tell you what the Omicron virulence is and its contagion rate is. They're not doing that. They're just lying to you 24/7. I don't know how they have time for ads. We'll see.
With very earnest looking people who you would never think would lie to you. Like, how about...
Which, by the way, he says, looking very earnest while he's saying this. That's adorable, Jimmy. People very earnest doing, while selling this himself. Okay.
Maddow. Come on. She wouldn't lie. She's a nerd. Well, watch her lie. No.
I don't know where the nerd part comes from with her. He makes this case that she and Chris Hayes are nerds, and that's how they get some level of authority with the audience. They have a nerdiness to it. She's wonky. Chris is, the right considers him a soy boy. And this is Jimmy trying to find a middle ground in this while wearing nerd glasses.
About COVID.
Means that instead of the vaccine being able, instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person to person, spreading and spreading, sickening some of them, but not all of them. And the ones that it doesn't sicken don't know they have it. And then they give it to even more people because they didn't recognize they were, right? Instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person, potentially mutating and becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way. Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Now, we have watched Dan Bongino show us a video and then totally pretend or simply be incapable of recognizing what he just watched. This video is from early this year, right at the beginning of the push to get everybody vaccinated, when we were still in the alpha strain, wild type, largely. There was some talk about possible other strains, but for the most part, we were operating in wild type. And the vaccine itself, if you'll notice, no one has wild type who's been vaccinated. No one is catching wild type. What has happened is people who aren't vaccinated allowed this to get more virulent. We got Delta, we got Omicron, we got all these things because of people who weren't vaccinated and it's given room to mutate. When you get vaccinated, alpha stops with you. In the case of Omicron, it doesn't, but it's less dangerous and much more it's closer to the flu, very possibly, which is, by the way, why we have a flu shot every year, for example, for certain folks. And it would stop with you if you had the flu shot for that particular version. But here's what Jimmy's gonna is. The question is he gonna act like this? She just said this last night or 2 nights ago or some shit.
That was never true.
Yes, it was. That's why if you're catching COVID right now, you're not catching the wild type unless you're in a third world country or a second world country and there is no access to vaccines at all. And even then, because of travel, Omicron is picking up speed.
That's not true. That was never true. This is from the end of March, almost April of this year.
Right. When we were all dealing with, that's exactly what I was talking about. When we were all dealing with wild type, there were potential other ones, but they thought maybe they'll be handled by this. But at the very least, this stopped the vaccine for this one, stopped alpha effectively in its tracks. And everyone that got the vaccine. Now, there's 2 things going on here, though. On the one hand, Jimmy's dumb. And Jimmy will tell you that he's dumb all the time. And I'm just a stupid comedian. And it's his way of being wrong all the time and getting away with it. Because if he misinterprets something on purpose to sell his kind of RT take on the world, then he can just go, I don't know, I'm not that kind of person. They should explain it better. It's not my fault. I'm just a dumb comedian and I can figure that out. And what he's actually, and he's actually not figuring it out. And he has been one of the biggest voices. He and Russell Brand have been the 2 biggest lefty voices, basically driving up the unvaccinated numbers on the left side as far as new media and digital media. These are the 2 guys who are basically like this close, because they're both Jimmy and Russell Brand are looking at that Alex Jones money because Alex is about to be fucked, and they know it's got to go somewhere. Those people they need that fix. They need the New World Order. There's a establishment deep state fix. That there's a big spidery system in the whole world that keeps your dreams from coming true, has nothing to do with you, and that anybody with any power or any success in the world did it by literally stomping people to death, and that's why you're unsuccessful. It's not because you're a lunatic prepper who won't get vaccinated, homeschools your kids with Gideon's Bibles. It's not that. It's not that you're an asshole. It's that somebody there's an eyes wide shut party you can't get an invite to.
2021. She's saying this.
Right. Remember where we were in March 2021 as far as the virus itself? It stopped alpha. It effectively did. And the people who weren't getting vaccinated are why we got more types. If we had the ability to just singularly, like, zoop, shots in arms, it had been done. And she even ends the video. Listen to this fucking dude. She even ends the video. Hold on.
Virus stops with every vaccinated person.
That's not true.
Hold on. What she said near the end.
And drug resistant along the way.
Up. What was it? What was this part you skipped, Jimmy?
And becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way.
In March, dealing with the wild type, dealing with alpha. If we get everybody inoculated, it won't be out there getting more drug resistant, getting more virulent along the way, mutating essentially. And because of fuckheads like Jimmy and Russell Brand and Marianne Williamson, bless her heart, and Robert Kennedy, who he constantly talks up on his show, and the worldwide impact of this thing, spreading, and people like shunning masks and they don't help anyways, and blah, 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 and all the misinformation that's been tossed around that they tried very hard to broom largely off social media. Thanks to them, we have more strains. Thanks, Kath. But he's gonna, if you'll notice in his criticism of her,
And becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way.
the part where people don't get vaccinated, right here, this part.
And becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way. Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the
Hold on, let me back up.
People, because they didn't recognize they were. Right?
Hold on, this is
Doesn't
about
second, don't know
it.
they have it, and then they give it to even more people because they didn't recognize they were. Right? Instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person.
He's like, see, this is the part I'm talking about. Instead of it being able to hop from person to person, where she goes, becoming
Eventually mutating and becoming more virulent and drug resistant along.
Weird. It's almost like we didn't have a Delta fucking spike in August, asshat. Because of this very thing. Why the fuck do you think only maggots are dying from this now?
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
And then he'll say she's lying because she's talking about the alpha type right then. There were no mutant strains that were, of any height. There's always going to be points of concern, just like H1N1 had a 0.5 around it. But in general, that's how you handled it. It wasn't until Delta kicked in August that they were getting some breakthrough cases. Omicron has a shit ton of them, but nobody's going to the hospital that's vaccinated. But what Jimmy's going to say, she's lying to you. Not that that's the best information they have about that particular strain at the time, and she's absolutely right about the vaccine stopping the alpha strain, stopping the wild type, and the fact that a bunch of people who aren't getting vaccinated are the reason why you're seeing more of it everywhere. It's not that. It's not reality. It's that she's lying to you to sell some sort of, big pharma murder scheme.
True. That was never true.
Yes, it was. That's why if Jimmy, God forbid, gets COVID at any point, he will not get the wild type. He'll get Delta, or he'll more than likely get Omicron. And he will have gotten it in a time, because other people getting vaccinated and saving his narrow ass, he will have gotten it in a time when they have more treatments available for it. Now, I don't know if he's had it. I don't know if he's had monoclonal antibodies. I don't know that he gives a shit about the side effects, the contraindications of monoclonal antibodies. Again, I've told you guys that relying on that to save you is a mistake, because all you have to do is look at any TV ad you're going to see for a drug. A good portion of them are the real drug name, not the title of the drug, not the cute name they give it to sell it to you, Hepexin, it makes you happy in excess in your home. Hepexin. It has a insulfata-lata-bata-mata-bata-mab. Mab at the end of it means monoclonal antibody.
That's not true. That was never true. This is from the end of March, almost April of this year, 2021. She's saying this.
Right. And he's looking at us like we should be surprised by this. This is the same thing, by the way, that Trump and Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and all these assholes do about Fauci and the mask stuff circa February 2020. Fauci was saying that masks won't help. You got to just isolate. Masks aren't going to do it. Masks won't protect you. And we find out in June, when multiple labs across the world bothered to do the test, because originally, of course, surgeons and nurses and everybody wear masks largely so they don't spit things that they have in their system into your open wound while they're doing surgery on you and shit, or catch something from you if you spew some sort of infected material onto them when they're dealing with an ill person. But we now know that the amount of virus you get directly affects how sick you get, how much harm it does to your system. And so Fauci now is like, yeah, these kind of masks will not only, anything that will lower the amount of virus you take in, especially when Delta was coming up. And again, that's summer of this year, or last year.
That's a lie. That's medical misinformation. And if this video of her saying this is up on YouTube, which it might be, they'll never take it down.
Yeah, because it was specific to the dated time that it was said. It was true at the time, unlike what you're saying right now, which is a lie right now.
But this is straight up 100% medical misinformation. And this.
No, it isn't. Because again, nobody's getting alpha. Not in the United States. Nobody's hospitalized for alpha. The initial vaccine stopped it in its tracks. Nobody vaccinated carried alpha to anyone else. There were very few breakthrough cases with Delta, if any. And God knows in the early testing and the PCR testing and whatnot, if the people who had not been vaccinated but believed they had herd immunity because they'd had it before, had gotten a false positive or a negative early in the year or late last year, which is a possibility, and didn't retest to check. But there's, again, misinformation is I'm misinformed and then I'm carrying that misinformation on you. I heard something anecdotally and I am mistaken about it. And that mistake is perpetuated. Disinformation is the active lying. So he's calling it medical misinformation, but what he's accusing her of is medical disinfo, which is what he's doing right here.
People hate the unvaccinated because they listen to a lying propagandist like Rachel Maddow tell them the people who aren't vaccinated are the ones not stopping COVID.
Well, they aren't when it comes to Delta and the other mutations. They're also not clogging up hospitals, fucko.
This is all garbage.
A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
Which, by the way, was true of the Alpha strain, and again, why you're not seeing that out into the world. And it was the people who were not vaccinated who helped perpetuate the Delta, and why it gained ground, because if it had hit a bunch of people who were vaccinated and in mass, if you have 10 people in a line and all 10 people are vaccinated and the Delta variant comes through and there's 10 people behind them, it doesn't break through that line. If half of the line is vaccinated and more than half of the line behind, because these are the Trump supporters, are not vaccinated, and an increasingly narrowing group of humans, these people will tend to have more comorbidities, and also will be more at the effect. Hi, thank you. Will be more at the effect of the virus itself. And so this is Jimmy. I guess maybe he's cool with killing off maggots. You guys know how I feel about that stuff. I don't wish ill on anyone that is my political opponent. Never will. Not gonna. Won't do it. I know it frustrates people. I can be a bit of a killjoy even, according to some people, because I won't let them just kind of make Darwin jokes and the shit without kind of tapping them on the shoulder. But I think it's important. I think it's crucial. But that's not a standard that Jimmy has. Never has been. If you don't believe me, hold on. If you don't believe me about like what Jimmy gives a fuck about, look up Gavin Long. Gavin Long shot 4 police officers. Gavin Long was a TYT fan. Gavin Long quoted Jimmy Dore in his videos. 3 of the cops died. One's permanently disabled and in a wheelchair. If you've ever seen someone with severe brain damage who's effectively wasting away from paralysis in their wheelchair, it is a heartbreaking sight. I have, because of extended family members and family members of friends, seen many people in my life in this situation, and I guarantee that that dude avoids all pictures of that police officer, just for the record. I go into it deep, but this is a long video, and I've still got other insane
That
shit.
is a lie. That is false. That is medical misinformation brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, so this is the idea, and Pfizer is apparently pulling Rachel Maddow's strings. She's not trying to help participate in stopping a pandemic that will result, by the time it's done, in the deaths of 1 million people and the physical damage of another 3 to 5 million that may be permanent. She's not doing that. She's being paid off by Pfizer. I know. There's multiple vaccines out there. She got the Johnson & Johnson one, but apparently it didn't puppet master her enough.
She gets $30,000 a day to lie for Pfizer and the military-industrial complex. And
okay, first of all, she gets $30,000 a day because of the eyeballs she brings to MSNBC, which would be, in a lot of people's view, the democratization of the workplace. Because if she didn't draw that audience and wasn't repeatedly trusted, she wouldn't make that kind of money. She also makes, less than Tucker, which he doesn't go in there and shit on Tucker to his face about how much Tucker makes a day. Tucker just got a raise by being on his stupid little Fox Nation show, which Jimmy's been a guest on. Did Jimmy call out? I didn't watch the whole thing. Maybe he did. Does anybody know? Did Jimmy call out the fact that Tucker Carlson makes $47,000 a day to keep us in Afghanistan? And if she's being paid by Pfizer, why'd she get Johnson & Johnson? Just this is terrible advertising. And why was she supportive of the exit from Afghanistan that got us out? And also, Jimmy makes $5,000 a day on his show, and he's not even on a big network. That dude is pulling down major fucking cash. His house is he bought $1.4 million. His house he bought in LA is $1.4 million in the Hollywood Hills. You know how much money you got coming in? If you're getting, I mean, I don't know if he bought it with cash. That would be amazing. I don't doubt it. But if you got you know what a mortgage on a house that's $1.4 million is in the Hollywood Hills? And again, who gives a shit? People are welcome to their success in all fronts. You know what I mean? I'm sure Jimmy would be very successful having a pineapple farm or opening a small branch in Waco. So what? But this is the important thing, is that he wants you to, what he's doing right here is engaging in disinfo by lying about what she does.
Doing it. She's lying to you right now.
No, she's not. She's giving you the best information she has, especially about the wild type, pre-Delta, pre-Omicron. And this asshole is judging what she's saying now. $9,000 a month, is that what he's paying for the house? So he's guaranteed pulling down $9,000 a month. That's a third of it, right? So right, it's a third of your income goes to your rent, right?
Cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people.
Not true.
Yes, it is true. True of the alpha variant, true of wild type. And were it not for the people spreading and getting to Delta, it wouldn't have been able to leapfrog. And she even says early in her piece that it would become more drug resistant and become more virulent. That's the concern. That's why you do it early. That's exactly what you're doing, right? That's the whole point of getting everybody vaccinated early. Jimmy's been against getting, people vaccinated and people are dying in mass because of it. And because he's been courting Tucker Carlson viewers for the last 3 years in particular, he's a bit fucked because he's in the same situation that Trump is in. You know, he's basically killing off his viewers.
That means the vaccines will get us to the end of this.
That is not what that means.
No, it's precisely what it means. Even still, because a lot of people who are getting, who survive Delta, for example, or get Omicron when they've been vaccinated, have a more resilient immune response. If I may, hold on one second. Now, Jimmy is dumb, so let me go find somebody that I see. The problem is Jimmy won't believe anybody. Scrolling. Let's see, yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. Man, I watch a lot of weird shit. One of these days, like just scrolling through the amount of, here we go.
Well, a warm welcome to today's talk. It's Sunday, the 2nd of January, and of course, Happy New Year to everyone. Now, I want to look at some scientific research today from South Africa that's been pretty well ignored by the mainstream media, it seems. What this research is showing is that people that have been infected by Omicron are developing immunity, which gives them a large-scale protection or a lot of protection against a Delta variant. Mm-hmm. Now, what this means...
But not the other way around, by the way.
Is that as we speak now, millions of us, unfortunately, are becoming, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, are becoming infected with Omicron. And that means that as we become infected with Omicron, this is going to give us infection against Delta. And this means that Delta is going to have nowhere to go because everywhere it goes, people will be resistant to Delta. Therefore, Delta should die out. In other words, Omicron should completely, over not too much time, displace Delta. And this Delta variant that's made so many people so sick and has taken so many lives should be history, completely replaced by...
By the way, people who are vaccinated aren't dying from Delta. So if you survived Delta or avoided it because it didn't get to you, because other people didn't create a lot of virus, they didn't interact with the people, they were wearing a mask, it didn't carry even when it was in their system, even as bad as it was. If by the time they get through that arc, they're not giving Delta to you because they're vaccinated, then Omicron comes along and you've survived Delta because of it. It's like people who take the roads and stoplights for granted. Like, they just drive everywhere. And I don't trust the government for shit. Government can't do anything right. Like, meanwhile, they're stopping at every stoplight. They're going at every green. They're waiting for turn signals and all. And taking for granted that they're just out on asphalt with a bunch of strangers. And that if we didn't all work together because the government set up a system where we could all kind of go back and forth, we would overrun. And, we would just smash into each other. I don't trust people. People are stupid. Well, then how did you drive here? The one thing I want to, let's see. He brings up, where is it? This is the paper, because I don't want to get into the whole, it's like an 18-minute thing. This is Omicron infection enhances neutralizing immunity against the Delta variant. In this paper from South Africa, they point out, and I think he has it in here. Omicron has extensive evasion of neutralizing antibody immunity. So it goes by even if you have it. Now, he brings this up. 1 second. Here it is. Elicited by vaccination and previous SARS-CoV-2 infection. Hold on. This is the part. So it has a better efficacy. Omicron protects you against Delta better if you have been vaccinated. It doesn't matter if he's a quack. That's not the point. I watch a lot of different stuff. It's the paper that he's talking about. The study from South Africa specifically talks about this. Blah, blah, blah. Just listen to me. I don't care what he's saying about it. This is a paper that came out of South Africa that's tracking this particularly. And what they have found in South Africa, folks, and in the UK and in the United States, is that if you're vaccinated and you've had Omicron, you have a better resilience against Delta if you have comorbidities, if you're in the increasingly smaller group of people that will require hospitalization, than if you aren't vaccinated. And since Delta came along earlier, that was the one that was fucking killing everybody.
This is...
Hold on. Wait. Hold on. There we go. Back to this.
Why is it I knew that in my garage? But you don't know it with your $30,000 a day and your tens of millions of dollars in help?
And again, in help? Now you're just being mean because you don't pay your staff, Jimmy. I mean, you got your... He doesn't even... Is Ron even on that show anymore? Did he just cut everybody loose once the big money started rolling in? It's just him and his wife or girlfriend or whatever she is? Did you just... Like, he has guests on now virtually, but nobody comes over?
Staff? How many producers do you think she has? 20? How many
They have about 8.
that work there? 50? How many people work at that show? 100?
No. How many angles do you think she has? It's like, I've been there. It's like 6 people on the floor. They have a control room that's for every show that has like between 4 and 8 people in it. She has a staff of about 12. If you're not including the singular makeup artist. Sometimes they'll bring in a second person if they have multiple guests in one night.
She doesn't know this is a lie? I know it's a lie. I knew.
It's not a lie. First of all, it's best information based on the alpha variant, the wild type. Secondly, you're making it a lie because you want to dunk on her, which is just cruelly gross and weird and fucked up anyways. But again, misinfo is being mistaken or finding out that the information you had wasn't completely I was misinformed, but because they thought this was the final word on it, it wasn't the final word on it. That's life. What Jimmy is engaging in is disinfo. This is disinfo.
Was a lie. You can't vaccinate your way out of this pandemic.
Okay, there's Jimmy's medical opinion on the entire thing. You cannot vaccinate your way out of this pandemic. Whether it becomes endemic or not, what you can vaccinate your way out of is death. You can stop the deaths. You can limit them in an extraordinary way.
Can't do it. Will she ever correct it? No. You know what else she'll never correct? The lie she told about the hospital in Oklahoma being overrun with people taking horse ivermectin instead of human ivermectin.
Okay, this is he's still pushing ivermectin, by the way, because he wants to be on Joe Rogan's show again, because every time he goes on Joe Rogan's show, there's a spike in revenue. And he needs to go back on because everybody, I guess he needs a new garage. And by the way, I know this in my garage. His garage is pretty fucking sweet right now. But for the record, this is he's selling. He is all in on ivermectin, and he even, I think, at one point says the same shit Alex Jones says. I've seen him say it before. I don't know if he does it here, about it being Nobel Prize winning. The ivermectin and the process by which they come to ivermectin was what won the Nobel Prize. Taking ivermectin for COVID-19 was not what the off-label usage that these fuckers just dreamt up and hoped worked out so they could be anti-vax and get away with it, is not what it won a Nobel Prize for. It's kind of like, the Nobel, famously the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, was named after Alexander Nobel, who created dynamite dynamite was so dangerous that there would be no more war. It would bring peace because it was so awful. So that didn't work out very well. That said, this is the Nobel Prize they won for medicine for the vermectins. We've talked about this before. Like, we talked about this. Alfred Nobel. Thank you. Did I say Alexander? That's Graham Bell. Thank you, Alfred Nobel. The
She lied about that on Twitter. It's still up. You know who got taken down from Twitter? Dr. Robert Malone, the guy who invented the vaccine technology.
right, for saying stuff about vaccines created by other companies that wasn't factually true. Again, if you invented dynamite and then you use it to blow up a schoolhouse, just because, you know, the Nobel Peace Prize is named after you doesn't mean what you do with that knowledge later is okay. I mean, how many times have we had Mike Pillow bring on this dude who supposedly invented email, which is all bullshit, but you know what I mean?
Because he's telling the truth about it. You know who's they leave up? Her, because she's lying at the behest of Big Pharma, which owns the media.
Yes, Big Pharma owns the media. Pfizer owns the media, even though there are dozens of other companies that don't have vaccines that sell ads on her show. She didn't get the Pfizer vaccine. Oh, God.
There's no other way to put that. She's lying.
Yes, there is. You're using an old clip before new information came out where she's speaking with the best information she had at the time, and you are mischaracterizing what she said to call it lies when new information has come. It's not a lie. That's not a lie. What's a lie is willfully and knowingly doing that. Because if Jimmy doesn't know, which we've already assessed that he does because he said so, that this video is from months ago. Like if he saw this and reacted to it like it showed up in his Twitter feed and he thought it was last night, then he could roll back later and get, I suppose, like he could say, I was misinformed. He's disinforming his audience. He's involved in active disinfo right here. And he has to, because it's the only way he's going to get the $500 super chats they get. And I mean, it's ridiculous. The numbers that they do are, this is on purpose. This is on purpose. He is lying because it attracts a certain kind of eyeball, in the same way that Trump spreads his bullshit, because those are the kind of people that dump stuff into his Save America pack. It's the same thing. There's no difference. None whatsoever. And he is taking footage of her talking about the Alpha variant at the beginning of the vaccination process, where she literally warns that if we don't get enough people vaccinated, it will become drug resistant and more virulent, which it did because of people not getting vaccinated. The Delta spike happened and caused a big spike in deaths.
And she'll never correct it.
Because she doesn't have to.
She'll never go, hey, remember what I said that the vaccine will end the pandemic if you just get vaccinated? That was 100%.
That was what?
Lie. That wasn't true.
No, because you're literally talking to an audience, in his case, in the case of his show, that doesn't get vaccinated, that doesn't want to get vaccinated. And the people who've been vaccinated don't fear for their lives. My parents are older. They are in their late 70s. And both of them, at their age, are in incredible danger from the original Alpha type, certainly from Delta, which was even more deadly. Had they not had the vaccine available to them when they actually got it, they probably would have died. I would have lost my parents this year if this fuckhead had his way.
Oh, remember when I said that if you get vaccinated, you can't get infected, and it won't. That was also a lie. Remember when I said it that you can't be a host and you can't transmit it to someone else if you're vaccinated? That's also a lie. You think she's ever going to say that? Never. Because
it wasn't a lie. It was, and he knows, by the way, that it's absolutely factually true about the primary, the wild type. You're not gonna catch it. You're gonna get, if you catch it now because you're not vaccinated, if you're in the hospital, more than likely you caught Delta. If you're just sick, you more than likely have Omicron. But if you're vaccinated, you don't have to worry about either.
Maddow has less integrity than Alex Jones at this point. Alex Jones has been more.
There you go. There you go. That's, I mean, by the way, how is this not just like chucking fucking fish hooks into an ocean full of like, you know, gullible carp and going, hey, they're about to take Alex Jones off the air. There's all these fucking carp swimming around begging for some hook to hook onto.
About this stuff than her, that's for sure.
Yes, Alex Jones is more up to date on this stuff than her, that's for sure. Fucking hell. This is, yeah.
That's how bad they are. If somebody gave me $30,000 and put it in my pocket, and you could see it hanging out, and I came on there, somebody from Big Pharma, and I started telling you all this stuff, would you believe me?
Motherfucker, you do what your audience wants you to say. I don't believe you because I know you've been courting Alex Jones's cast-offs for the last couple of years. I mean, Jimmy was always an asshole. But, you know, he went off his own deep end because he was trying to carve off an even, like, more cultish slice of the TYT pie. You do have 30,000 tucked in your pocket, Jimmy. By repeating, you know, RT, Tucker Carlson, and Alex Jones talking points, you're trying to reel in an audience that'll help you make your fucking $1.4 million a month house payment.
If I got a $30,000 check, stick it out of my pocket before I sat down, every day they gave me one, would you believe what I said? I would.
Well, if they only gave you that check because people continue to come back because you were a trusted source, yeah. I mean, that's what we're talking about. I mean, he thinks everybody in big media is lying all the time anyways because they're a direct competitor. So he's that dude who, you know, wants you to, you know, he's McDougal's in Coming to America. You know what I mean? Pretending that McDonald's came in and stole his idea.
But people believe her. And that's...
Yes, they believe her because she's a Rhodes Scholar and she checks her shit and they update as they get new information. She doesn't shit talk people just to get her own viewers killed for your benefit.
She looks like when she's lying for $30,000 a day at the behest of the establishment. Because she...
Yes, the establishment. She gets a fucking letter from the establishment, signed Mr. Pfizer. The establishment. You mean reality? You mean the shared reality we all have? Where everybody's trying to get the best information, you know, with the circumstance that we're in and weed through, you know, people who, like yourself who are talking out of your ass all the time. I mean, this is fucking gross. Oh, he's incredibly jealous. I mean, I don't understand. Like, he's wearing her glasses. He's got her haircut as best he can. He's even wearing the shirt she wears when she goes out in her truck.
Liar. And she has zero integrity. And you know how I know she has zero integrity? It's not a sin to make a mistake.
Well, yeah, it's why you would admit or update your information is the idea. You just lied about her. There's never going to be an update to this shit.
It's not I don't know if it's a sin to even be sloppy. Let's say you could be sloppy. But when you get called out and you don't correct it, that's when I know you're a liar.
All right, I'm calling you out, Jimmy. I don't know that you'll ever watch this, but fuck you. You showed a clip at the top of this, and you mischaracterized what she said. She literally warns of the other variants if we don't get enough people vaccinated. This was during the initial push to get everybody vaccinated. You worked actively against that push because of people who weren't vaccinated. more people died during Delta, like you give a fuck. Just stack them up next to the Gavin Long dead. And now you want, because of all the people you effectively, with your guests and your model of reality, sold, your section of the country a behavior that led to a bunch of them getting sick or passing the disease on when they didn't need to, leading to the deaths of other people, and you don't give a fuck. That actually makes her right. Where she's saying it becomes more virulent, becomes more drug resistant. That's exactly what fucking happened. The alpha type stopped with the initial vaccine push. And the rest of them wouldn't have ever gotten a toehold if enough people had gotten vaccinated. But Jimmy Dore decided to side with the leftover maggot money from Trump. He's just hoovering it up, and he wants to be, he and Russell Brand are just both vying to be the next Alex Jones. So I'm calling you out. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if Jimmy will ever see this, but Jimmy, you fucked up. You lied the whole time. This entire segment you did, you were lying the entire time. Because she specifically warns of it becoming more virulent and becoming more drug resistant if we don't get that initial push. You were against that initial push. And because we did not reach effective herd immunity by certain dates, Delta was able to slip through, and a lot more people died in August than had to. And the people that caught it and did end up carrying it because it was, a more virulent form because of assholes like that, didn't die because they were vaccinated. So, and he doesn't think this is, he's going to throw this under the pile of sloppy. He was just being sloppy, I guess. When he's been not only, again, in his defense, he calls himself an idiot all the time, stupid or some shit, right? And we just watched him totally misrepresent what was in a video, act like, a video from months ago with best information was a lie for the fucking pentablet. You gotta, it wouldn't be the Jimmy Dore show if they didn't have a moment of,
Well, it's a well-known fact, Sonny Jim, that there's a secret society of the 5 wealthiest people in the world, known as the Pentaveret, who run
Right.
everything in the world, including the newspapers, and meet tri-annually at a secret country mansion in Colorado known as the Maddows.
So who's in this Pentaveret?
The Queen, the Vatican, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and Colonel Sanders before he went tits up.
Jimmy, you're a liar. And when you accuse her of misinfo this entire time, because you're using an old clip where she literally warns of what was going to happen, you are engaged in disinfo, which is the active lying. This isn't passive and being mistaken. This is active disinformation. Because you're you're fighting with Russell Brand for a slice of the, ever bifurcating Alex Jones dollar. That's what's up. So, fuck off, goodbye.